Hi, my name is Charlie Thorburn. Welcome to Mordor Gun Dogs. We're going to discuss the topic of what is a Labrador. So I'm going to just show you some of our dogs and some other dogs that aren't ours, and just talk about the differences that you can see across the spectrum in terms of the look and the temperament, etc. of a Labrador. So what is a Labrador? A Labrador is a dog that was bred originally by the Duke of Buccleuch and the Earl of Malmesbury. They saw some dogs working in Newfoundland, retrieving the ropes out of the water for fishing nets and boats, and they thought we could use them for retrieving ducks, and so it began. So we're just going to go for a little walk with Goose and talk a bit more about him. So Goosey here is a 2.5-year-old black Labrador that we bred. We bred his mum, we bred her mum, we bred her mum, we bred her mum, and so on and so forth back 11 generations now. He's got 0 elbows and 0 hips, and generally he's just a pretty good chap all round. He's a good looking dog. Now, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and what everyone thinks what a Labrador is, it's so subjective. But if you read the basic rules of a Labrador, they should have, in simple terms, simple description, they should have a leg in each corner, okay? They should be a good solid dog. They should have a tail that goes from thick to thin in a fairly short space of time. It shouldn't have a curl on it, so it should just be nice and flat. They should have a double coat, so when you brush a Labrador the wrong way, a proper one, you can't actually find his skin really, because underneath the fur that you see is a layer of down, which keeps them cool on a nice sunny day like today, and warm when it's cold and wet. Now, traditionally, Labradors were just Labradors. There weren't show Labradors, there weren't working Labradors, there wasn't field trials, they were just Labradors. And over time, the show ones have gone in one direction. On the other extreme are some of the field trial lines. Now, the reason they've gone in different directions is because people have been trying to breed them for different things. Some people are trying to breed them just for what they look like. So the show-bred dogs, it's just about what they look like. And to be honest, these days, the show-bred Labradors are so far away from what a Labrador really was originally, which was a working dog for retrieving ducks and various other game birds, that they've gone too extreme. A lot of them are too heavy. They can't jump into the back of a pickup. They can't jump a gate. And they certainly can't jump a gate with a pheasant or something in their mouth, which I think is pretty key. Some of them don't even retrieve very well. So they're called Labrador Retriever. They're in the gun dog class, but actually, they're really not gun dogs anymore, and they couldn't be gun dogs. Now, there's all sorts of reasons why they've got thicker set, and it's basically due to breeding. And there's all sorts of rumours and ideas that people have of why dogs have got like this, and there's definitely sort of been conversations over the years that some of the Labradors were bred with Rottweilers to get their head bigger and broader, a bigger, broader head, a thicker set dog, a shorter muzzle, just to make them look better in the show ring. And that sort of selective breeding to bring in another trait that they're looking for is not necessarily something that people do now, but it's definitely been something that people have done in the past. On the other extreme, people have talked about how they've bred Labradors with working collies to give them more speed, to make them more trainable and more alert and more looking for commands and things from their owner. All of this is kind of slightly hearsay, but if you look at the dogs of today, you can definitely see that they've gone so far in different directions that there's obviously been some breeding somewhere where they've added in or taken away some of the things that were originally in the very original Labradors. Now, I tend to breed what people would call now more traditional looking Labradors. This guy here is quite a big, strong dog. He will quite happily jump a fence. He'll actually jump a deer fence with a pheasant in his mouth. He's a very athletic, strong, but he's also a very powerful, thick-set dog. Now, he's big, and he's not for everyone. People sometimes look at a dog like this and they go, "Oh, he's just a bit big for me. I want one of the smaller Labradors." So it is very, very subjective as to what you think is right. But what I believe we're aiming for constantly trying to have what I call a dual purpose dog. So a dog like this who, if I took him to crufts, people wouldn't look at him and go, well, that just doesn't even qualify. People look at him and go, that's a nice looking dog. That's a dog that we could, take it round the show ring. He might not win, but he's certainly not a dog that would be sent packing in the first round. But we also want a dog that can come out on a shoot and work really well, a good retriever, a good swimmer, a good athletic dog, which again, he fits those bills. Why do people breed different Labradors to do different things? I think some people just don't really know. Some people don't go out to breed dogs with a purpose. They just kind of go, oh, I've got a dog and I'm going to have puppies, and guy down the road's got a dog, so I'm going to use it at stud. Some people maybe go, right, I've got a dog and I really love her, so I'm going to breed from her with a field trial champion or with a show champion or whatever, because that's the line I want to take. But I'm not sure people put enough thought into what they're trying to achieve and why they're trying to achieve it. And I think that's really important. And I would never tell someone not to breed their dog or whatever. I might say that I wouldn't breed their dog because subjectively I don't look at their dog and think it's not a good enough dog, or it's not got good enough hip scores, or it's not a good enough looking dog, or whatever the reasons are. Those are my choices, and not necessarily everybody's choices. Goose. But I think what people have to think about themselves is whether what they're breeding has got anything to do with me or anything to do with anyone else. It doesn't really. It's more about what are we doing it for and who are we doing it for. And if you're breeding a dog to be a field trial champion, so you've got your field trial dog or your hopeful field trial dog, and you put it to the latest field trial champion to produce field trial champions, just make sure that, people just need to be aware that that's not necessarily a dog that's going to be conducive as a family dog. In the same way as a show dog bred to win a show at Crofts is not necessarily conducive to being a working dog or a family dog, or because the show dogs are sort of by reputation are not as trainable, they're not as biddable, they are a bit more rambunctious and a bit more pushy. And we were at a vet the other day doing an artificial insemination vet, doing some getting some semen off one of our old dogs, and she said that they had a show bred Labrador in, and our dog was easy to handle and everything else, and that's why she was talking about it. She had the show bred Labrador in, and they had 4 people in there trying to hold it down, and eventually they had to sedate the dog because it couldn't physically be handled by some experienced vets and handlers. And so to me, that there's something wrong there as well. So it might look like the most beautiful dog, it might be like show champion, everything else, but if it's not a nice biddable dog, that's kind of not what people have in their mind about a Labrador. Now, why am I saying all this? I'm not saying all this to kind of put everyone down and say, oh, get one of my dogs are the best. What I'm saying about this is a Labrador isn't just a Labrador. You can't just go, oh, I'm buying a Labrador, I'll just get one of those, or I'll get one of these. You've got to make sure you're really looking at what the dogs have been bred for and what the parents have been used for, etc., to make sure that ticks the boxes you're trying to fill. What we're going to do is we're going to just give you some examples of some other dogs, and we've got one in for training, just arrived from someone in for training, and I certainly don't want to upset the owners, but I'm probably going to anyway. But it arrived, and my wife and one of the people that worked for me looked at it and said, "What's that?" And I said, "It's a Labrador. It's a 9-month-old Labrador." And they were like, "What else has it got in it?" Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So I'm sure the owners and the breeder absolutely loves their dog and thinks they've done a cracking job, but it's not for us. It's not what we're looking for in a dog. So, when you go to look at, when you go to look for a dog, a stud dog for your female, or you go to look for a puppy, you got to look at the mum and the granny, and if you're going to get a female and go, right, well, that's that mum and that granny, that's just what I'm looking for, so the chances are that's what we're going to get. Or you look at the dad and some of the other males in the line and go, well, that's what I'm looking for. So you're actually taking a sort of really sort of educated view on what you're signing up for, because they are not all the same. Okay, so we're just going to put Goosey Goose away and go and get a couple of young dogs just to show you, just as an example of some different dogs. This little guy here has just arrived from someone else for a month or so's training, and he's a sweet little dog, aren't you? You're a friendly little chap. And was bred by Gamekeeper down in Sussex, I think. But you can instantly see we've got like a much smaller, finer boned dog, much longer feet, narrower features. He's got quite a curly tail. He's a sweet little dog, and he's a bit on the slim side, but I think naturally he's just quite a slim dog. But this dog here is 9 months old, so he's still a good few months away from being fully grown. And I think in his time here, we'll get him on some good food and feed him up, and he'll probably put on a bit of beef. But he's never, he's not got big muscles in his back legs, but he looks like he'd be fast, doesn't he? He looks like he's got something, if you take away the black Labrador in your eyes and you look at him, you think there's got to be something else in there that's giving him that sort of build and speed. And what I'm talking about specifically is, some sort of long dog, like a whippet kind of greyhound. There's something in there that, they've got those much slimmer, finer bones. They have a curly tail. They're much finer, deeper rib cage and finer along the back. So if we compare him to, so this is a pedigree, Kennel Club registered pedigree Labrador. If we compare him to a dog over here, so this is an 8-month-old dog. So just spin him round and we'll have them next to each other. This is an 8-month-old dog. So a month younger, which is a lot at this stage. That's a few years in human terms, really. Well, it's certainly a good year and a half. So this is comparing an 8-year-old kid to a 10-year-old kid, sort of thing. Difference in the head shape, in the thickness of the legs, in the way the feet are, in the tail. And this guy here is off the dog that we were just talking about. So you can see there's just a very different thing. Now, sweet little dog. He's going to be a nice little dog. He's very friendly. He's not got any issues. He's a bit naughty, but he just needs a bit more training. So we're not comparing like for like in terms of training. We're just comparing the look and the stamp of the dog. Ash, if you want to just do a little parade, because I just want everyone just to have an idea of what we're talking about here. And just turn around and go back. Yep. So the point of this video is just to make sure, so people have in their mind, they're like, oh, I'm going to get a Labrador. So they just buy a Labrador, but it's not as simple as that. You need to make sure that you put in some time. Now, I can't emphasize enough, to people, these dogs are going to be a major part of your life for hopefully 12 plus years. We've got dogs who've lived till there. Well, I thought I'd done the record of one of our own dogs in-house. We had a 17-year-old, and a client rang me the other day saying they just put their 18-year-old Mordor dog to sleep. So they're a major part of your life. That's exceptional, okay? 13, 14 is a good age, a really good age for a Labrador. I think anything more than 12, you're doing well. But when you're going to look at a dog, this is going to be a major part of your life for the next 10, 12 years. It's really important that you do some time and some research into finding a dog that is suitable for you and comes off a family of dogs that you've got affinity with. Okay, go and see some people, go and see some dogs. We had someone here the other day. We showed her all the dogs. We showed her the puppies. She showed a great interest and said, oh, they look lovely, and can I put my name down? And then she emailed me about 2 weeks later and she said, oh, I've decided to get a puppy from someone else. Now, that's absolutely fine, because presumably she saw something in these other puppies that she preferred than she did from our puppies. Now, I unfortunately, I asked her, but I didn't manage to get a response as to what the reason was, why she decided not to get one of our dogs, because obviously we want to know, because we're always trying to improve. But maybe she just saw something. Maybe she preferred this slimmer type of dog. But make sure that when you're going to get a dog, you're getting it from somebody who is akin to the life you lead. I get it from someone who's either breeding them for the life that you're going to lead, or they lead the life you're going to lead, and they know a little bit about dogs, and the stud dog's been picked because of the type of dog it is, not just because of some fancy title he's got, which is only important if you are trying to win some fancy title. And what's more important for us is that we like pretty looking dogs, the temperament, the good nature, the biddable, trainability, and just a terribly sweet dog. And so this guy here is going to be a big guy. He's probably going to be the size of Goose. He's going to be well into sort of 30 kilos, but you can see he's just a giant sook. You wouldn't say boo to a goose, and I wouldn't say boo to his dad Goose anyway. Wouldn't say boo to a goose. He's just a really nice, happy, gentle, friendly dog. I hope this has vaguely been interesting for some of you, just a bit of a comparison, and maybe we'll try and pull up on the video hopefully with Ian's wizardry, we'll pull up some showbred Labradors just to give you a sort of, so we've got one end of the scale, we've got this guy here. In the middle, we've got Paco and his dad Goose. And then at the other extreme, we've got the showbred dogs. And as I say, it's just making sure you're buying and looking and researching into a dog that you know really is going to fit your bill, and also what you've got a perception in your mind of what a Labrador is. And that is a nice, friendly dog that's going to fit your family and maybe your shooting career, etc., or your tracker dog or whatever it is. But just put a bit of time and research in, maybe like you would when you were buying a house or buying a car, because you can always sell a house and you can always sell a car, but no one's going to sell their beloved family pet. So make sure you get it right in the first place. Thank you all for watching. Remember, you get out what you put in, and we'll see you again next time.